Brother.
There we go. I was actually hanging out in a different tab because I got two tabs open. I got us on the stream and I got the live stream on LinkedIn. I'm checking through the comments and I'm just engaging already.
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. How you been, man? You've been busy.
Good, man. Good morning. From my end of the world, it's like 8 a.m. over here. Luckily, I'm an early riser and I'm early bird. So, yeah, good morning.
Yeah, well, it's 2 p.m. here in Perth. It's a bit earlier than we normally do Monday Night Live. You and I have connected quite a bit over the last 6 months or so, and
Yes,
not
sir.
waking up at 2 in the morning to do our calls. So we're going to find a time that works for both of
Look,
us.
I'm trying. I'm trying. It's when you run a global, like a truly global community, there's
100%.
different time zones. By the way, shout out to all the Link Up members right now who are watching this and
Yeah.
in the comment section just shouting about it. It's like 2 a.m. for some folks right now, maybe even like 3 a.m. and they're live with us right now. So shout out to everyone. But yeah, what I wanted to say is like when you run a global community, it's very hard to pick a time for these live calls. So I kind of stuck at like 2 p.m. European time, and that kind of makes up for the West Coast of the world in the US and all the way to Australia. So if it's
Yeah.
sometimes too late for you, my man, I'm sorry, but that's
It's
the
fine,
best I
man.
can
It's
do.
worth it. It's worth it. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't. So yeah, I started in 2014, and I remember saying at talks, because there was no competition really on LinkedIn when it comes to posting content back then. And I was saying to guys, listen to me. This is not going to last forever. There's lots of talent out there. As soon as they start coming onto the platform, it's going to be competitive. Do you think that we are still in the early days of LinkedIn?
No, but I do feel like it's not as hard as people make it out to be to grow here and to actually build a business. I feel like there's too much talk on LinkedIn right now about how it's oversaturated, about how there's too much, AI content or too many LinkedIn tips and tricks and LinkedIn growth, this, whatever. But I feel like that's exactly what makes it the perfect time to join if you're just now joining, or if you have been on the platform for years and decades even, and you haven't been posting content. I feel like it's the perfect time just because there's so much echo. I feel like when you're in the feed, like especially if you're a daily user like us, right? You log in and there's just so many posts that look, feel, and sound the same. And I feel like that's exactly where the opportunity is. A lot of people are never, ever sharing their own experiences. They're just sharing tips and tricks. And if we wanted tips and tricks, we wouldn't be on LinkedIn. We would be on YouTube. We would be on Google. We would be on ChatGPT, even heck. But if we're on LinkedIn, we want to hear from real people. I feel like that's exactly where the opportunity is. A whole lot of folks, especially experts in the industry, they haven't gotten in touch with this place right here. I'm pointing on my chest for the audio listeners. I feel like everyone tries to share information. They don't share the person. They don't share the story behind the information. Example, here's how to wake up every morning and crush the day. Cool. I can just Google it, right? But if you tell me how you crush your day, right? Every morning I get up and I, do 5 whatever K in sales, blah, blah, blah. Here's exactly how I crush my morning routine. That's what makes the experience, unique and personalized. And that's what we're lacking. There's so many tips and tricks. There's not a lot of expert tips and tricks. That's where we're lacking.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting with AI, like the content, it looks to me like at least 60% of people are using AI to create their content. So it's becoming like there's all this perfect content on there and there's just less personality. So it's easier to stand out,
It's not a problem, by the way. We got to preface that, right? It's not a problem to use AI for your content, but it's a problem when there's no you in the content. It's AI, but there should be the I that's first. It's kind of funny. The I to the second place in this conversation.
Yeah. Does your advice differ when you're speaking to companies as to when you're speaking to creators?
Not at all. I'll be very honest. I hate all that terminology, B2B, B2C, whatever. And whoever's been following my content for years, they know I like to drop the old H to H, meaning human to human. The psychology behind it is very simple. There's no businesses that talk to businesses, right? There's no robots that talk to robots, buildings talking to buildings, offices talking to offices. It's always people talking to people. And I feel like the second you stamp this B2B label on something, it just tries to feel like something different, but it's not. It's still people talking to people. So my advice doesn't differ. I feel like if you're in the B2B space, even if you're in the G to B, space, governmental industries or whatever, you still got to sound like a human being. Because if you sound like a news outlet, that's not going to fly. if you just sound like you're reporting things, meaning you're
Yeah.
just sharing information you found online, it's not gonna fly. People crave that personalized connection, man. And it's
Yeah.
every facet of the industry, 100%.
100%. Let's talk just quickly about video. 36% rise in viewership year on year. It's growing faster than the other post formats. And I know that you used to do a lot of writing only posts, written only posts. Now these days you do a lot of image posts. But you're a copywriter. That's your jam. What's your advice to business owners on LinkedIn when it comes to video?
Look, when it comes to video on LinkedIn, I always say you don't need it. Should you do it? Yes, absolutely. Do it. Also, psychologically, video is the richest format possible because you can communicate so much more versus a static image or a static photo or just text only, no visuals. With video, you get this whole persona, you get energy, you get voice, right? You get inflections, you get hand movements, you get eye and face movements. You can't communicate any of that in all these other formats. So for that psychological reason, I say, yes, do it. But if you're just going to do it for the algorithmical reasons, there's no point. There was a magic honeymoon period during the launch of this new video feed on LinkedIn where
Tell me about it.
essentially getting gifted views. And I've been saying this, I'm not afraid to say it. It's been gifted views on LinkedIn where it felt like, oh, you post a random video and you wake up the next morning. I've experienced the same, by the way. You wake up the next morning and it's like, oh, 6 million views. And I'm like, but the engagement is the same. Like my profile views haven't gone up. No clicks, no nothing. It's just like this number that's meant to feed your ego. So yeah, I say with video, you don't need to do it, but should you do it just because it's that much more personalized and intimate, dare I say? Yes, 100%.
Yeah. It was exciting because I thought that, that yes, it wasn't converting to profile views. Like I blew up a few times, got a few million views, but I thought that's just because it's early, it's just going to learn and it's going to get better and it'll get more targeted. And then boom, it disappeared. And I'm wondering to see if it comes back because there was no announcement, like no one from LinkedIn said anything publicly about it disappearing that I'm aware of. And all they talk about is video, right?
And it's kind of weird, right? We have all these features that are just flying in and then flying out really quickly. With video specifically, they were doing a few, like the most recent one that I remember, like they put up video views in the corner of every video publicly, like video impressions. You could see them, every person. And it lasted for like a good 4 or 5 days. And then you can't all of a sudden. And I'm like, are they testing all of these things, right? Live, like are we a live experiment? Or are these actual features that end up being live? And then users complain so much about it and they report things. And then they feel like, oh, maybe a wrong move. I feel like with video, they've done the most experimentation out of all the other formats. I've not seen this much experimentation with all the other parts of the platform compared to video. But I get it. It's a new part of the platform that didn't exist before. Comments, they were always there. Profiles, they were always there, right? Posts, feed, it was always there. Video was never there in terms of like a specific feed. So I kind of get it. But again, at the same time, if you don't experiment on your own, that's what I keep telling people. And this for years, like I'll get these questions in the, in my LinkedIn community. How do you do this? How do you do that? I'm like, you got to test it out. Because if you don't, you're not going to know. I can tell you, look, this is what seems to be working. But if you don't test it out for your own audience, for your own algorithm, by the way, everyone has their own algorithm, you're not going to know. So you got to experiment a little bit more. You think I landed on this freaking industry and all these businesses by not experimenting? No, hell to hell, man. Like I remember those first posts, they were nothing like what we have today. It was.
I think that's a really good segue to something I wanted to talk to you about. And this may be a product of my network, but I'm noticing a Jasmification. I guess I'm going to call it a Jasmification. Of the feed where like everyone wants to write posts like Jasmin, right? Do you see that happening? And if you do see it happening, how do you think that that's going to play out?
I look at it from two ways. Obviously, on one hand, I'm proud, right? Because people love it and it's, good way to communicate, in my humble opinion. So I'm kind of proud. I'm happy, right? That it's easy for people to just learn from it, from all the content, from all the advice, and they make their own version of it. The other part is, again, we're talking about everyone kind of wanting to sound like someone else, even if that means sounding like me, right? And I've seen this happening for years now. 2 or 3 years ago, and I was doing those carousel posts. By the way, this is part of the reason why I don't do carousel posts anymore. I got tired of seeing my own style of content out there. When we were doing the carousel posts, I would spend like at least 10 hours per document, at least per one post. All of them went viral, which is great. And a lot of them, brought me good chunks of business. But the problem was, and we had this. So funny story. I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell you the story for like 30 seconds. There was a time when it became so oversaturated with Jasmin like content, like that cover style of the carousel posts and like the way you would do the slides, 1 through 10 or 1 through last. It was basically the same. It was like a 90% copy paste version of a Jasmin carousel. And we had this group chat where we would just share screenshots every single morning. As you're scrolling through your feed, as I'm scrolling through my feed, how many lookalike posts can we find every single day? Every single day, man. And we would just keep dropping these throughout the day because no matter when you logged in, there was a post that looked exactly alike. People were trying to replicate that style. Today, it happens a lot. I feel like right now, with like the way the following has grown, people just leave a tag in a post, right? And they expect me to respond to something. And I'm very much aware for some of these posts how much like or a comment from a big account means. And I'm very aware of that. I'm kind of cautious not to like everything and everyone's post just because some of it is like clearly AI generated. I'll just skip those. What happens a lot is there's going to be a post where the creator is literally getting like 5 or 10 likes per post maximum. Like you see it on every post, and then they write something, they tag Jasmin, and then Jasmin comments, and then the post blows up. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of likes and reactions. So I'm very cautious of that. If people are wondering, yes, I am aware of that effect. Do I think the algorithm prefers my like or react? No, not at all. But it's just the effect of any big account, right? When we're talking big on LinkedIn, it's like 100K plus or whatever. So there's two sides to it. Again, on one hand, I'm humbled, I'm proud, I'm happy that we're actually doing good things, right? That everyone is learning and advancing. But on the other hand, I feel like people lose touch with their own selves. It's like you're trying to sound like somebody else and you're trying to replicate some other person's brand, and it's just never the way.
Personal branding is about standing out, not about fitting in. You used to be a rapper, right?
Oh yeah. Look, my voice may
got to
be
be
a little
different.
bit today because last night I had the craziest ride back home, and it was Eminem and 50 Cent patiently waiting all the way up, man. I lost my voice last night for a short second there.
But it happens, right? In hip hop, I mean, Eminem's a bad example because most of them can't, but they'll try and copy other people's style, but the ones that blow up, they've got their own unique flavor. It's the same thing with content. You got to lean into what makes you unique.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And again, if you don't experiment, you're never going to know if what you're actually doing is going to land with people, right?
Yeah.
There's so many folks who are trying the safe option versus trying something of their own and then like, oh, let me see if it sticks.
Yeah.
I've done that for years with my style of content. Everything we've done is like a whole lot of experimentation, whether it's, the format, whether it's the way you talk, the length, the formatting tricks, like the power statements at the very end, the hook styles, the visuals now, right? Everything you do is a form of experimentation. And ultimately, I feel like if I'm satisfied with it, that's when I'm going to put it out. If I'm not happy with it and satisfied with it, it's never going to see the light of day. Heck, man, I got like, at this point, I'm not even going to kid, 1,000+ posts in my drafts ready.
Wow.
Perfect. I'm very
you're a writer,
9 out of 10, but I'm never going to post them ever. Because it just doesn't fit the day or the week or the theme. So I'm just going to keep writing like a rapper every single day. I wake up, I'm going to write something. But you got to be happy with it, man.
I don't think you know this, but I used to rap as well. I used to.
Oh man!
Like in university days, I put out like probably about 30 tracks or something.
So do we have like Bigger and Bibby LinkedIn?
Well, I wasn't like on X Factor and all that stuff, but I've got that creative background. Like for me, and I want to just ask you about this because for me, it was very much an outlet. Like it's how I process a lot of stuff that I was going through growing up. And I felt like it gave me a voice. Like I would put something into a song. And then when the song was complete, it was like I dealt with it. It was like therapy. And I was just wondering, like, was there something that drove you to hip hop? Was there something about your childhood that made you want to express yourself and have a voice?
1,000,000%. For me, writing is therapy. And I'll keep saying this. If I don't go to sleep, having written something that day, I can't.
But you do,
right? I need to write. I need to express. Even like as I'm telling you this answer, I feel like I can't imagine a day where I haven't written something. I just genuinely can't. I would not be able to fall asleep at the end of that day. It's still a rapper mentality in me. heck, man, I got
Well, that doesn't surprise me because
I can't show
you
you, but
always seem to be
there's
working.
so many notes. There's so many little scribble. These are like client notes from
All right.
calls and things. But this is what I used to do back in the day. I would always carry a small little, it was like a booklet, right? A notebook. And I would write
Yeah.
my notes over there. These days, I just log in to Authored Up, best content tool as far as
Yeah.
writing and analytics goes. And by the way, shout out to Kondo for supporting this episode. Kondo is like for LinkedIn DMs, chef's kiss. But writing every day, it's just a thing of mentality. And again, I know a lot of folks do not build this muscle enough. They don't build the writing muscle enough. They're not expressing themselves so often, so frequently, to the point where it feels like, oh, writing is easy. That's why you have a lot of folks, struggling with writing, and they feel like, oh, I need all these hook templates. I need this structure. I need this framework and this. But then the second you start practicing more, the hooks and the frameworks and the templates or whatever, like, sure, they're helpful, but you're not going to need them anymore because you're just going to be sharing thoughts. And the more you build the muscle, man, the stronger you become as a thinker. I feel like thinking is something we don't practice enough. And that genuinely comes through in writing.
Yeah. I've been on LinkedIn since you could post content, right? Like you couldn't post content to start with. And there was a time like probably 5 or 6 years ago where the more you posted, the more attention, like it didn't matter if you posted 10 times a day. So there was one point where I was posting 5 times a day and I'd be in the back of an Uber and I'd just, throw something up. And so like I got in the habit of just dumping content on the platform all the time. And then when my daughter was born, I took a break from like LinkedIn. I was still running my business, but I took a break and it ended up being about a year and a half before I started coming back and actively posting again. And that was towards the end of last year. And in that year and a half, like the whole landscape had changed. Like I was no longer the only LinkedIn coach in Australia. Like they were everywhere. They're on every corner, right? And so I was like, oh my God, look at this guy's content. And I started like all the things that I would tell people to be careful of, I started doing, like comparing myself, becoming a perfectionist, like literally not posting because I needed it to be perfect. And then when I saw like your stuff and I was like, I've got to reach out to this guy's killing it on LinkedIn. And I saw the amount of like detail that you go into when you're writing content, like it actually like the perfectionist problem became real for me. And I've since got over it. You'll be happy to know. I've realized, it doesn't do anyone any value sitting in my drafts folder. So I think some people can relate to that. Like, because I'm not a world-class copywriter. I'm a communicator, I'm a businessman. So it's okay if my copywriting is not as good as Jasmin, but the important thing is that I share my message and my voice. That's where I've landed with it. Hey, man, preparation for this interview. Sorry, you go.
And I was just about to say, I feel that, and I see it a lot with, the people we work with. It's, it's just too much focus on the format, too much focus on the algorithm, too much focus on all the little details. Sure, that adds up. Like there is a psychological underlying value of all of those details. But ultimately, if you don't share, you're not going to sell. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get stuck. They focus too much on the selling that they forget that the platform is about sharing. The selling comes from the sharing. So share first, sell second. That's been my mentality since day one. And I feel like if it's the other way around, it's just very hard to grow. It's very hard to build that trust because if all you keep doing is asking, and not giving, you're not going to be attracting, right? I feel like LinkedIn is a game of attraction. It's not a game of sales.